All right, everyone, welcome back to another 90 Day Fiance before the 90-day recap chat. 90 Day Fiance is a reality show that follows real life couples. One person is from the US, the other from another country. How do they navigate just regular relationship issues? On top of that, cultural barriers, language boundaries, and all of the legal issues and trying to discern and figure out how they can get their marriage license. They have to get that 90-day fiance pass or visa to visit each other's countries. It's called 90 Day Fiance again before the 90 days. This is the spin-off we're talking about this time. So let's get into these couples. All right, Tiger Lily and Adnan. They are visiting Petra, this amazing city. They call it the Rose City, where everything is pink. I think it's a natural phenomenon, but they have an amazing time riding the camels and all of that. But before they can even have the good time, Tiger Lily was upset at Adnan for his double standard ways. Certain things he doesn't want her to do, and he says it's a part of their culture. But he's able to do that, such as shake hands with her friend, though she's not able to shake hands with any males or whatnot. Just basically any males, because that's their standard. But again, he was able to break that. So even though you may say shaking hands, that's not a big deal, but she feels it's a double standard, and she doesn't like the fact that some rules can be broken by him. So she gets out of the vehicle even before they start enjoying that trip in Petra. He apologizes. He asks her for a hug, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm accepting your apology right now, but it's not gonna all just be over and done with. This is still an issue for me." And I didn't notice that Adnan was wearing a man bag. Some people may think it looks like a purse, in American culture, but I've seen men wear this bag. It's fashionable. It's nice. I just wanted to point that out because I do feel Adnan is a little different, and he is a man of fashion. So just to point that out, there are some very misogynistic, very ultra masculine ideas of how men should be. But I feel like by him wearing that man bag, he was doing something a little different. Maybe he's showing us that he's not completely that stereotypical man, but there's definitely some there, and maybe part of that is cultural. Okay, so after they enjoy this time, they really did have fun, and they're on their way back. It looks like Adnan did all the driving on to this trip, and his brother again is in the back seat along with her two friends. And he kind of gets upset that the friends are bringing up these things that they're going to have to worry about because she's going home and they're going to be distant from each other again. Though now they're married, they've had a lot of time together, probably not as much as they need to establish their marriage and relationship. So it becomes painful, but they're bringing up different things about how are things going to go long distance, if there going to be trust issues and all of these things. And again, he's like, trying to tell her, don't worry about these things. And she's like, I understand what you guys are saying, but I'm confident that we're going to get through it as a married couple. And he basically says that they're going to be forever and tells her not to worry. When they get back to the hotel and she's packing her things, he gets kind of emotional and looks like he's going to go into tears as she kind of discusses some of the things that they may have to think about while she's back in the US. They also don't have his visa yet. So things that they did not take into account, into consideration, that now they have to deal with. But they very much have this strong emotional bond and tie now. And I could tell it's going to be very difficult. It's difficult at the hotel as they pack. So it's going to be very difficult for when they actually say goodbye temporarily until they can figure out their living situation and do the visa process and all of those things. So I wish them the best. Tiger Lily is a cougar. I do feel like there is strong love between them, and hopefully it's strong and true and real. And it's not something that is just going to pass. All right, Renee and Chitty. Chitty is blind. Renee is a little different with her thoughts and concepts. Lastly, she had an issue staying in Chitty's home, wasn't getting along with the sister. I really feel for the most part it was because of her behavior was a little off-putting. And on top of that, she was kind of creating more issues by her attitude and just her skepticism of the sister alone, when she already had preconceived notions of her before she even come into the home. So now, she had asked Chitty for forgiveness for apologizing, at least for the scenario that happened at the home with the sister and everything. But then she's like, I'm going to move into a hotel. She's not really comfortable in that environment. And part of me gets it because, you're in somebody else's space and it could be a little bit awkward. But I think she's doing a little too much to make it that way. So she offers Chitty to come to the hotel with her. And he's like, well, I have to make arrangements. And she kind of belittles him, says he only has like a few outfits, a few shirts, and a few pairs of pants. And, you don't have that much, and she's saying, how could you say that you have to do all of this when you don't even have that much? I thought that was very rude and very mean for her to say. But he's like, I have to talk to my people and all of this stuff. And she's like, well, I'm dating you. I didn't know I was dating 3 people now. She's not really hearing him out. And she's saying, he's not really a man because he has to go talk to his family. And she feels like she's an intruder in their home. And she's just really out against the sister. Also, she made a comment that I felt was off-putting as well, telling him to play with himself. And you can kind of take that the way you want to, because there was no actually, before that I didn't hear any suggestive talk, but she said that. She tells him to shut up. The brother-in-law is now kind of in the room, and she's like, oh, I didn't realize you were here, but she still continues to be rude to him, maybe a little less, but still rude. And Chitty, he talks to, us, how they do the one-on-ones with the producers, and he's basically saying, he first kind of thought he was the problem, he says, but the problem he feels is deeply rooted within her, and I'm glad he sees that, and he's not going to blame himself. Her sister comes in, and the argument gets even more heated, and her sister calls her delusional. And she's like, yeah, this is what I always thought about your sister and whatnot, that she was going to do this to me. But everything that was happening was something that she created herself. It was kind of what you call a self-fulfilling prophecy, because she basically said that this was going to happen, but her actions and attitude brought it into light. And any reasonable person looking outside of the situation would say, I kind of get why you're being treated this way, but they still try their very best to be nice to her. I could tell the sister was cracking, but she was still trying to be nice through that. But her attitude was trying to come out a little bit, but she still was nowhere near whatever Renee was doing. And I hope I said her name right, because I keep calling her Rain because of the way her name is spelled. But he's like, I don't know, I don't want her to leave. I feel like I have to go with her or she's going to end the relationship. But ultimately she leaves. The brother-in-law tries to get into the middle and just try to be the peacemaker here and try to talk through this. But she leaves. Chitty's kind of emotional. He lays back. I think the brother-in-law kind of touched his shoulder to comfort. The brother-in-law looks pretty sad himself, like he was kind of broken by this whole altercation as well. And she's like, I just don't really want to talk about this right now. Just kind of lays back and just, I don't know how he's feeling. In maybe a little bit of heartbreak, agony, or relief or distress, maybe all of those things. And as she leaves, she says, "You'll never see me again. I love you, but I'm done." And he said, for her to try to get him to choose between her and her family, and they haven't even gotten married yet, she's just causing a lot of different unreasonable issues even before marriage. So she's doing him a favor by showing all of these sides of herself. And hopefully he learns the lesson, gets the point, and doesn't try to get her back. I mean, I don't know if she's capable of change. She can be a little bit nicer, but then she'll go right back into her mode of whatever she's doing. I don't even know what to call it. So, many people would just say, "Chidi, you're better off." But we'll see. I have a feeling she's not done. I have a feeling, she came all that way. She's not going to just go to a hotel room and then leave the next day. I hope that she doesn't bring any more tumultuous, stormy vibes that she's been bringing this whole time. But I have a feeling she's not done yet. Okay, Matilda and Niles. Niles is autistic. Matilda, she's in an African country. Sorry, guys, I don't remember all the different countries and all the different names, but that's the situation between them. And also the situation is that he proposed to her, and she's thinking they're going to get married at this trip, the first time they meet in this first trip, but he's got something to tell her later. So they spent the night together. They made a vow to each other, hey, we're not going to have any relations until after marriage. But they're in the hotel bedroom together, in the bed. I think she gets a little bit too excited and gets on top of him. And, that's kind of how they leave us. But we come to find out that, she was really intensely into it. Things kind of got so far, but Niles stopped it. And she was really upset with him the next day that he stopped everything. But he said he has his reasons for doing that. And one was because he was in a past relationship and things didn't go well, partially because there was moves in the bedroom too fast. His ex became possessive. She wanted to be with him 6 times a day in an intimate way. And it was funny because he said, a man isn't made to do that 6 times a day, which I would agree. I think science would agree. But he said, twice a week is more like it. And maybe that's just his personal preference. I think that, a man scientifically can do it more than that. But, for him, I guess his preference is twice a week, which he said would be better. So they talked about that in the issue. And she does go along with it. She felt bad in the beginning. Any woman will feel rejected. But, she was going against the plan and they were supposed to wait. So I'm glad that he respected the plan and continued to move in that way. And he was able to convince her to do that as well. And he said, I had to be strong. I had to lead this and do the right thing. And this is the type of men that we need, ladies. Men that are going to keep their word. Even when we might be a little bit off kilter, we might be tempted. But he kept his word. He had a bad past experience. So he knew kind of through experience that this may hurt their relationship. So I think that was a stand-up thing for him to do, and to not to just easily fall to his urges. So now they're out on the beach, enjoying the beach. It's some type of bug. I don't know what it was called. Maybe I missed what was said, but it looks spiky, like a sea urchin or something. I'm not sure if that's what it was. But she picked it up. He's like, no, don't touch it. It's poisonous. It's toxic. And she was like, no, you can take it. And she put it in his hand. And, he kind of held it for a second. She told him to be a man. And he was, she kind of told the producers he was a little soft. But, he finally took it. But then he put it back down and said, this is where it belongs, on the beach, not on my hand. I don't know if he's soft, maybe a little particular, and maybe just not used to these different looking creatures, especially if you're not person that's on the beach all the time and you're not from that country, you don't know what to expect. Though I think those might be on different beaches all around the world. So whatever the case, I wouldn't want to touch it either, honestly, to be honest with you. But she starts talking about the wedding. 200 people are supposed to be coming. The bride price, which is something that happens um, in other African countries on one of the other 90-day spinoffs. We talked about the bride price, and basically you have to pay a certain dowry or something like that to the family in order to be with the daughter and to have the daughter marry into your family, something of that nature. And then the family kind of comes up with a list of the different items they want. I don't know, it could include money as well. And she's talking about this conversation. He's getting a little nervous because he's supposed to be telling her, hey, we're not going to get married just yet on this trip. So they go on a shopping trip now. She still doesn't know the plan. He's trying to figure out, when should I tell her. And on their way to this shopping area, it's a lot of hustle and bustle. He says it reminds him of New York. It's overstimulating him. And he said he can feel in the back of his head and his face certain areas, he says, where he can feel nervousness, or whatever the term may be called. There's just uncomfortable feeling, maybe anxiety. But he says, he's in love. He's going to step out of his comfort zone because he wants to be there for his person. And I think that's a beautiful thing that he's trying to do. I do think that in the future they should talk about, the different triggers and things that he may have. But at this point in time, I'm glad that he's able to try to accommodate her in this moment. So Niles is really proving to be a stand-up guy. They go on the shopping trip. I think that she thinks it's going to be like Pretty Woman and she's going to get all of these things. If anybody's seen that old school movie. But he kind of lets her know, I'm not going to be able to get everything you want. So she's like picking out different things, saying, well, should I try this on? And I think the skirt that she chose was like $80. I think that's what I heard. And he was like, no way. But in his mind, he was like, no way. But he's like, okay, I'll get it. But he's just getting it to soften the blow later for when he tells her, hey, we're not going to get married yet. And then it's going to be a big blow, like he said, because she told him that a lot of the family members are coming out. Again, it's going to be about 200 people. So it's a big deal that they're planning. So they're going to have to kind of cut that plan short. Well, he takes her, drops her off to get her nails done. He's like, I'm going to explore around town. You get your nails done. She's like, you don't know the area. Are you sure? He's like, yeah. So he goes to a ring shop and he finds a ring that's about $230 US. And, he basically says that she's worth this. And even though, the price isn't expensive, especially according to US standards, it's still a beautiful thing to get her this ring, because he proposed without a ring. He just spoke it over the phone. So now he actually gets to present her this ring. And again, though, the ring is also going to be presented to soften that blow. He's going to tell her after he gives her this ring, I really do love you, and this ring symbolizes that I do and will marry you. That's the plan, but we're gonna have to put things off. So he feels like this again too will soften the blow, but it will still solidify that, hey, we're getting married, so no worries. So I hope everything works out between these two. I'm finding Niles to be a pretty stand-up guy. He kind of goes along with my faith model as well. And even though I'm not sure what his motivation is for waiting, and they both chose to do that, I think that's a stand-up thing to do. Okay, Vanya, she's a new character or a new person, because these are real people, but in a way they seem like characters, but they're real people. She's an amazing lady as far as I can see. She starts out showing us that she does belly dancing, she eats fire, she's a makeup artist, a vegan baker, and she's a medical sales rep. She has her own place. Her place looks really nice. She looks like she's living really well. But she's kind of like what they call, she called herself a Jill of all trades. So she does a little bit of everything. She says, she's doing pretty well, but when it comes to love, that's the one thing that's not going so good for her in her life. She's 41. She was engaged. Come to find out that her partner was cheating, or her fiance was cheating. She found him with another woman and found out he was kind of living like a double life. So that whole relationship ended. And she ended up going on a solo trip to Bosnia, which is her home country. And this is where she met Bojo, I think is how you say his name. It's spelled Bozo. So I think it's Bojo. He's 38. She kind of found him on an app, and they didn't get a chance to meet up there, but he responded later on as after she returned or left the country. And he is a basketball player. He has a great sense of humor, and they kind of have a lot of fun together. They hit it off. So they show Vanya again hanging out with her friend Fabiana, and they kind of talk a little bit about this new relationship she's getting into, that she's kind of been into online for a bit. But Fabiana kind of reveals the whole issue of Bojo. Sorry, Bojo. I knew I was gonna mess your name up, and I apologize. Bojo. This is gonna be difficult for me. I might just have to call you Bo. As you can see, I'm kind of flubbing my words. I'm not sure if I could do this for the rest of the season, but he broke her heart. He hurt her while they were talking online back and forth. It was a point in time where she couldn't reach him, and she finally found out. He broke the news to her that he was seeing someone else, and he didn't no longer wanted to see her. But then after a couple months, he came back and said, I want to pick up where we left off. And she's like, well, I want to just give it another chance to see, if this really is going to work. But she said she was single for 6 years before that, and her heart felt like, she felt in her heart that it was dead in that space. Like, she just felt like there was no more movement in her heart area, which I understand what she was saying, because I feel like I can relate to her on some level of not having a relationship for years and just not having that closeness, that friendship, that intimacy with someone in a romantic way. It felt like that. It feels like that muscle, that love muscle, at least the romantic one, can die, especially if it's not used, if it's not worked with. So I can relate to her feelings on that. I can also relate to her past with her being engaged, and her love cheated on her. It wasn't exactly that same scenario, but there was some deceit going on, and there was an engagement in the works that did not fully play out. So I can really relate to that part of her story. We're also in the same age range, so she's probably a lot more amazing than I am with all the jobs that she does, but I can relate. And then she even had some more things to say that were really emotional, so her story really gets to me. Her cousin visits her, and they're looking for outfits for her to go visit Bo. I'm just gonna call him Bo so I won't mess his name up again. And she has some outfits that are kind of revealing, and she has all these stiletto heels that she's going to be wearing. And they kind of start, talking about him, and she's going to kind of get her own room because he lives with his mom and aunt, and they kind of talk about his financial, what does he have going on financially. He is a basketball player, I believe in Croatia, but not sure what his finances are like. Vanya kind of takes up from him and says, he's saving money up, and he's going to get his own place. I don't fully know his scenario, but she has a lot going on. I don't think she's worried for money, and I'm not sure if he's tried to get money from her. But, thing about people that, For her, I feel like she's not, even though she has all these jobs and does all these things, she probably really looking for someone that's a stand-up person that she can trust, that's not going to cheat, that cares about her. At least that he can hold his own. Maybe he can't do everything she does, but he can do for himself. That's just the impression that I have. And she's really taking up for this guy. She wants to love again. So, that I feel that's where her heart is coming from. She then talks about, like living in Bosnia. Does he understand, everything that they went through? Because she grew up there in the Bosnian war era when she was about 10 years old. They were coming from her grandparents' house, and the bomb started going off in the middle of the night, and they could never go back home again. They had to go back to her grandparents' house. It was a tough time. They made these flour and onions, something called black soup. They went without water for a year, electricity for a year. They just went through a whole lot. There were so many different times where she said she was almost killed. They show pictures of her with short little cute haircut as a little girl. And I just felt very emotional for her at that time, and she started to cry when she was talking to her cousin about it, and it was just very emotional. She's like, now that I've gotten through that, I want to take life by the horns. I really want to live life, so that's why she's doing all these things that she wants to do. She made a nice, cute little custom air freshener on her way to meet her boo, or Bo, so should I say? Because I'm not gonna try to say his name again. Maybe I'll get the guts up to do it in the future, but I may have to phonetically respell it so that I won't read it wrong. So she's going to the airport wearing her stilettos. She loves to wear heels, and she's calling Bo before she boards. I think it's gonna be a 17-hour flight. I guess he knows she's coming and she's on her way. But he isn't responding, and it's giving her that bad feeling again of what happened previously when he didn't respond and he found himself in another relationship. So she's hoping that he's not doing this the day before, the day he knows that she's coming, because that would be very cold to do something like that when you know somebody's investing into seeing you, not only financially but emotionally. She's been waiting for this day, and you play her like that. I really hope he's not doing that. All right, let's go to the next couple here. We go extra long because it's a 2-hour episodes here, so it's a little bit longer than our usual chats. But let's go into, I'll do Faith and Lauren first. Okay, so she comes to the door, and he's shocked. She's like, she finally wants to talk to me again, because this is the guy that had gonorrhea and confessed it to Faith. And for a while, she wasn't going to say anything to him. Her friends was giving her advice of maybe you should talk to him. And then one friend said maybe you should let this guy go. He has gonorrhea, and it's not Faith's fault that he has gonorrhea. So they decide to have a conversation to see if there's anything left for them. When some type of banana thing or something they get on some street food, it just makes me wonder what that tastes like. I like to see the food and the different cultural things that they have in these different countries. It looked like it was fried or something to me. I wonder if it was good, but they sit down and talk with that little treat. And she's like, well, so the gonorrhea, he's like, the gonorrhea is going to be gone in a week. I'm going to take all these pills. And she says, well, the fact you have this disease is alarming to me, because you're kind of acting like it's, oh, no. He's kind of acting like it's not a big deal. And Faith's like, it's a big deal. And I agree. And he's like, well, I thought you understood that I was sleeping with different people while we were talking online. And he's like, I would do that once a week. And she was like, once a week and every week? Yes, once a week and every week. That's a lot of sleeping with people, right? So that was kind of alarming. And, he's like, hey, but I'm not going to do it anymore. I love you only. I'm not going to do this again. And she's like, well, you slept around with these people, but you said you love me again. Like he's like, said, I apologize. I'm not going to do this. If you love somebody, why do you sleep with a bunch of different people? I don't know. Maybe you have some type of addiction. Maybe you need some help. I don't know. Some of it is not the people that he was staying with. He said it wasn't always the people he was staying with, but it was just people once a week. I don't know if it was different people or the same person. I do need a little bit more information. Not to say that it makes it any better. But he's like, not again. I won't. It's only you. And Faith's like, you're saying that, but I'm not feeling it right now. We're going to slow these things down. Because I was excited. I told my family about you, that I had a boyfriend. Like, now what do? You were supposed to meet my family. And now I was like, so I'm not meeting your family. And Faith's like, well, we're just going to meet you as a friend. And right now, let's just go back to friend status because you have a lot to prove to me. So, I think Faith was really good about doing that. But for me, I don't even think I could do that. I'm sorry. I would be like, we can be friends from afar. I'll talk to you when you get back to America. Adios. God bless. All the best. I'm not like, we could be friends, but possibly we could start again. I couldn't even leave the door open for this guy. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. And I've been in relationships where I really felt like I was in love and cared about a person. But to know that my person was sleeping with all these different people and saying they would love me at the same time, even if we didn't get to see each other or be in the same city or state or country even, I would definitely feel some type of way. So Faith is right, but the forgiveness part I can have, but not to the point of, well, I'm going to let you back into my life as a possible love interest. That part I couldn't do. So let's see what's going to happen with these two. Brian and Ingrid, they go out and meet with her friends. Things are looking better, looking up for these guys. After Brian's in a wheelchair, and he broke the news that, hey, I used to be a drug dealer, and that's part of the reason I'm in this wheelchair is because my wife kind of put these guys up to carjacking me. I get shot in the interim, and I also did drugs as well, and this is my past. So after Ingrid recovers from all this information that he's just now telling her as he meets her after 2 years of talking, they've rebounded. He came to her house and brought roses and brought a gift for her son and kind of softened her up. So she's kind of got back on board with him. They went on a nice trip together, a nice little destination. So things just went up to the point that, hey, he's meeting her friends. So they asked, did you need help traveling there? And he's like, no. Because of the wheelchair, I'm sure they were assuming that. And they were also asking, how was their first night together, assuming that they were intimate the first night. And, Brian says, in these last 15 years, I've only been with Brazilian women, and they've gone to bed with me on the first night. But Ingrid is different, She didn't appear to want to do anything the first night, but I think she was also thrown off guard with all of the different things going on with his body and the different things he had to do to get ready for bed and all of that. And it kind of was a lot. So I think that might have been part of the reason she didn't want to do anything for the first night. And then the whole fact, of course, that he told her that he was a drug dealer, that was his past. He kind of told her that like last minute, right in her face. So, again, he's trying to prove this point, saying, the last 15 years I've only been with Brazilian women. That we've gone to bed in the beginning, but not with her. This is serious, And they kind of encouraged them to, spend the night together and see what it's like. I don't know if it's something in the Brazilian culture where, you know, uh, going to bed together is something that's done quicker, easier. I'm not sure. Even though I'll say that's done a lot in American culture as well. But um, I kind of, even though I feel like, okay, he's trying to say something special about her. And she also said this too, like she was surprised to hear that he would go to bed with people on the first night. I don't know if she's a little more conservative than he knows, but to me, and also that's a put off to me. I mean, I don't feel like you're making me feel special by telling me or people or my friends that. Like the first time I hear this is your friends telling me you would sleep with people on the first night. And you know, friends will put those assumptions on you and make you feel like, oh, you guys should do something, you know. And I don't think that's a good thing, but they kind of encouraged, you know, maybe that they should spend the night together, but also the fact that he only sees Brazilian women for the past 15 years. And I just kind of would like to ask him why, even though I know why as far as they showed us on the show, but does she know why? I wouldn't want to be typecast, you know, as, you know, one of the other Brazilian women that you found. Um, I know people have a type, but the whole phrasing, the whole situation was a turn off for me. But she was encouraged by her friends to spend the night with them, I guess, and things seem to be going well. Talking with the friends and things are going better with their relationship, so they go back to the hotel. She actually goes back to his hotel with him because she'd been back at her own home due to the whole, you know, issue of him giving her that news. So they're together in this hotel. It's like, I got a gift for you. It's a tiny bit of red lingerie, and it looks teeny tiny, stringy even. He's like, well, hopefully she's up for this. I know that being with someone in a wheelchair is something she's not used to. She may not know what to expect. So she comes out in that teeny tiny thing. They do like a massage, and it looks like they're starting to be, you know, I'll just say physically affectionate. And, you know, the producers leave the room, of course. It kind of leads us to believe that they will be intimate. And then something comes on the screen and tells us, you know, it's been an hour. An argument broke out. And it looks like she's left the room, the hotel room, and he's coming out in his chair, and they're asking what's going on. And he said, you know, I didn't have any protection, so I was trying to pleasure her in a different way where you wouldn't need protection. And she was put off by that. So, and you know, she kind of recanted a similar story, and she felt like he was just being a little bit too much. And she put her hand up, and you know, he just felt rejected basically at this point. It's like, well, you know, I checked all the boxes, I did all the things, so why she still doesn't want me? Is it because I'm in this chair? And we kind of left it like that. The cameras did make it look like she may be up to doing, you know, just spending the whole night with them in whatever that looks like. But, you know, people have the right to change their minds, and people can't act differently when the cameras are not there. She may have acted differently, as he said, but he may also have acted differently as well. You know, vibes can change and vibes can be different. So we're gonna see more about what happened with that scenario and with that issue. But that's the end for our 90-day fiance. Before the 90-day chat, see how long we talked? This is a lot to get in, but can't wait to see what's gonna happen next as we continue
this season of 90 Day Fiance. Before the 90 days, any thoughts, comments, questions, email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com. That's cbiztv@yahoo.com. All the best. God bless.